Welcome to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Las Vegas. We are on Tropicana in front of the Walmart. Every last one of the light poles, the electricity poles are down. This goes for miles. We ain't got no power. I don't know what the is going on. This goes for miles, y'all. Look at the cords on the ground. It goes all the way down. Miles. What the? What the? All of these are down, y'all. Every last one of the powers down.
It sure is easy to see something like this and immediately jump to conclusions. I saw this and immediately assumed that it was likely some political group just trying to cause damage to the city. But if the reports are to be believed, this is supposedly all caused by some unexpected windstorm that had wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. I kind of feel like I'm being gaslit reading articles on it though. I've never seen a bunch of light poles on both sides of the street all snap in relatively the same spot and then fall in towards the street from both sides. Now maybe, since wind forces exert maximum shear pressure at a couple feet off the ground, often near the base but not right at the ground because of ground anchoring, if all those poles were installed at the same time, which the reports are saying they were, if they're all the same age, material, and design, they would all likely fail at a similar height under uniform pressure. And I would imagine that the cascade effect probably had something to do with this, where that first pole falls down and the wires that are attached to it, that are also attached to its neighbors, start pulling those down with it. However, I cannot ignore the fact that with every single one of those light poles down on both sides of the street, they're surrounded by trees that are still standing. What do y'all think?
One night around 10 o'clock, the sisters returned home in a hurry. One of them needed to pack some clothes for a pajamas party with friends to which she was already late. However, when approaching her house, they noticed something extremely unusual. Right on the sidewalk, a shopping cart, which was completely full of dolls. Curious, they stopped briefly to examine the content. The cart was full of old dolls, some with empty looks, others with faces deformed by time. What seemed like just a strange moment quickly became something much more disturbing. The door cam managed to capture everything that happened next.
We just need to go in here. Alright. Shut up. Hurry up.
I don't go to your house and mess with your, so don't mess with mine.
While the two sisters ran into their house, leaving the door open as they grabbed their pajamas, not thinking anything of it, an older woman suddenly appears complaining that the cart full of dolls they had found belonged to her. However, the most terrifying thing happens inside the house when a dark figure without a defined shape quickly crossed the corridor, like a black mass without a clear outline. Moments later, that same figure appeared again. This time it was running through the garden. According to Pink Nemesis, who shared the video, she had already seen this entity walking around her house at night. She thought that it could be a street cat. Do you think that woman who walked into that house was responsible for that shadow entering that place? Could she have something negative attached to her?
This video makes no sense at all. These girls notice something right outside their front door that creeps them out so bad that they immediately run into the house telling each other to hurry up, clearly acting like they both think they're in danger. Then they leave the front doors wide open whenever they get in the house. Who does that? Then some lady walks into their house holding what looks to me like a dead possum and says some cryptic nonsense and then walks back out. And I went back and counted. They waited a good 15 seconds after she left before they rushed in to close the door behind her. Are these girls trying to get axed? I just don't know what to make of this one. I hate to just assume that this was all staged, but who acts that way? I feel like their reaction to what's going on around them should call the whole video into question. At the very least, if they were genuinely worried about what they saw outside of their door, some shopping cart full of doll heads or whatever he said it was, if they were genuinely concerned, they would have closed the door behind them when they went in the house. Hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at berry-stepp.com.
In early 2020, Justin Bieber randomly posts a whole bunch of pictures of babies on his Instagram with the hashtag yummy. Around the same time, he posts this picture right here, yummy, in pizza font. He later goes on Ellen's show and tells her what yummy means to him.
Here's what I want to ask. Yummy. What does that mean exactly?
My sex life.
Okay.
So this led a lot of people to question why he would post them babies with the hashtag yummy when his song is about his life. Now, this is obviously an old clip, but it's from John F. Kennedy Jr., and he's talking about how a 9-year-old girl wrote him a poem, and she's describing herself as pizza, and it's yum yum.
We happen to have someone who sent us Monica Lewinsky's poem that she wrote in 9th grade. Actually, not in 9th grade, when she was a 9-year-old.
9 years old.
And I know I'm going to rot in hell eternally for this, but can I maybe just give it a sample? Yeah, give a sample. Okay. It was written, the poem is a poignant rumination on how, quote, I can be a delicious lunch, dinner, or breakfast, if you're weird. She goes on to describe herself, quote, as a round and flat piece of dough with lots of topping. I am a mouth's best friend. I make you say, yum, yum.
And the thing is, she wasn't just some random 9-year-old. She grew up and happened to be the woman that Bill Clinton had an affair with. Almost like she's been in the industry and they used that poem as a startup to some type of code word, pizza. And that takes us back to this picture that he posted around the same time he was posting them babies with the hashtag yummy. And if you know about symbolism or code words that these people use, it's like a secret language. Especially with him posting this picture specifically along with the pictures of the babies in the hashtag yummy. So with all that being said, it almost feels like he was trying to tell us something by doing this. Ask yourself, whoever referred to this as pizza?
They'll name 3 names for your lady parts.
Mini Moo, the JJ, and a pizza.
And look at how she's looking. And she's flaunting it. And if you know anything about Ellen DeGeneres, you would understand why this was her reaction to her saying that.
I have mixed feelings about some of this. Yes, I too would like to believe that Bieber had the best of intentions when he made these posts, that he was trying to spill the beans about the depravity that some of these celebrities are involved in. And it very well could be that that's what he was doing. But some of his comments kind of look to me like he's implicating himself in being involved in this stuff. I'm not making that claim. I'm just saying, what's the difference between these posts and all that sick garbage that Chrissy Teigen was posting on Twitter years ago? I know hers were a bit more on the nose, but I'm not seeing a difference here. Publicly stating that your new song is about your sex life while you post photos of infants with the hashtag yummy on X, implying that you think they're delicious. I just have a hard time believing that someone who has a problem with this kind of behavior would go online with as many followers as he has and post stuff that would make it look like he's probably involved in it himself. It just doesn't add up to me.
Forgotten Plague, you guys remember that? Of course you do. This is a sickness that has mysteriously shown up and mysteriously left, and no one knows what the cause of it was and what happened and why it happened. In 1916 from 1930, over those years, millions of people all around the world were mysteriously passing out, falling asleep, falling into comas. Some of these people, comas for years. The illness illness literally started with sore throats, tiny headaches, all these things. People would be eating at home, chewing their food, and then would just pass out. And they had no idea what caused it. And so they called it the sleeping plague, forgotten plague, obviously. Now, there was no correlation with what people were eating, where people were at. So there was a lot of like conspiracy behind biological warfare. But a lot of it happened in the UK, but it happened all over the world. I think over 100,000 people died. But in 1930, it just stopped. And it just never happened again. They don't know what caused it. They don't know why it went away. Nothing happened. There's no logical reason. So when people would wake up, some of the people that would actually wake up that wouldn't pass away, they'd wake up with neurological disorders, Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Some people literally had different personalities and different accents.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then it just disappeared one day. And we've just, I mean, I don't remember ever learning about this.
What if time travel exists and they're testing in the past?
There actually is a tiny conspiracy within that of time travelers. and
Wow,
stuff. Yeah.
that's so interesting.
I mean, it's just scary to think that we would just have no reason for it. We would never be able to understand it. And that we just like, okay, move on.
Reading up on this, it almost looks like this could have been their first run at a pandemic and it just didn't take. They estimated that between 500,000 and 1 million people suffered from this, and it had a mortality rate of 20 to 40%. And apparently there was a case of someone having this, they think, back in 1993. But they can't confirm that because still to this day, they don't even know what it is, so they can't test for it. Personally, I think that the time-traveling vax study idea sounds ridiculous. I know the government has come out stating publicly that they have the ability to manipulate time with some new technology, but the more I think about that, the more I'm convinced that they probably just said that so China would hear it and think that we have more advanced technology than them, just like they did with Russia when they lied to the world about putting men on the moon.
Oh, this picture right here, what does that look like?
Bitcoin logo.
This logo right here was from a game called Space Quest. Came out in 1991. Here's where it gets spooky. So that game came out in 1991.
Okay.
On the development team, Hal Finny himself was on the team.
Explain who Hal Finny is.
Who is Hal Finny? Hal Finny is the first person to receive a Bitcoin transaction on the blockchain ledger. The very first person. If he is Satoshi Nakamoto has 1.1 million Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the future, if Bitcoin hits $1 million, that makes him the first trillionaire on Earth. He did research. When he received that first transaction on the Bitcoin ledger, they mapped his IP address to Satoshi Nakamoto's address. He was only a couple of miles from that address. So you live down the street from Satoshi?
Nah, that was his other crib. He was just, you know,
right?
He just walked up the street to the crib.
That's what I'm saying. Are we not in a slave system right now with the monetary system? Think about it. What's on the back of your dollar? There's an eye on top of a pyramid. That's not suspicious to anybody? And it says, e pluribus unum, which says, from one comes many.
Sounds like a cult.
That sounds like a cult. Are we not in the mark of the beast system right now?
We've been in the mark of the beast.
I think cryptocurrency is the exact opposite. I think it's to free us. It's decentralized. You become your own bank. You don't have to adhere to the system we're in now. Completely circumvents the Fed, circumvents, IRS and everything else. Trump just passed a bill, the first crypto bill, to where the IRS was going after DeFi platforms and everything else, to where, because he has a DeFi platform. So of course he's going to sign into law breaking that chain to where going after DeFi platforms and everything else. He just signed that first crypto bill. That's the first one. Hal Finny himself, he's in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Love Scottsdale.
And he's frozen.
Hold on.
He's frozen right now. He's frozen.
Nah.
In cryogenic stasis or cryogenic form.
That's the most compelling argument for who the creator of Bitcoin is that I've ever heard. This guy may have it figured out. Unfortunately, I don't think this cryogenic stuff is ever going to work out the way they think it will. They've been freezing people with the hopes of bringing them back since the 1960s, and they still haven't figured out how to thaw them out yet without completely destroying the body. One thing I found very interesting while digging through this is that there's no documented case of them ever losing a specimen due to equipment failure. That's because there's no global governing body keeping track of this stuff. And there's no standardized reporting system for accidents involving cryopreserved people. If anything goes wrong, these companies handle it in-house. I'm convinced that the cryogenic stuff is just a scam that somebody devised up to take advantage of rich people who don't want to die.
We get paid to rap about that stuff. They actually pay us more
when we rap about more ignorant stuff, so I make sure I even align and come on, talk on stages like this.
Man, I was flooded with millions of dollars from the time I was 16, and I woke up one morning, I was like, they got me. Man, look at the I spoke about, look at the I put in these people's ears. Man, I feel very wrong about a lot of things. How many lives I actually am responsible for when it comes to my music. How many kids and people have gotten in the car or put this in their ears and actually went hurt someone, and now I'm sitting back like,
It's weird. I've been having these weird feelings lately, and that's kind of why I didn't want to do this song, Shake It, or like any drill songs, because it's like these songs are activating like these demons that I've killed. I don't want to be that girl anymore. Like, I just want to be a mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be that old Cardi anymore.
I want to be a city girl.
She ain't gonna be no city girl.
So Summer ain't allowed to be no city girl?
No. I want her raised totally different. Like, you know, I don't even want her to even see the light of day like that. Like, I really want her to just be like, you know, like level-headed, a schoolgirl, and just on a whole nother wave.
The more I watch of these celebrities, the more my heart goes out to them. I know that they made the decision to put themselves in this position, and because of that, I feel like it's relatively easy to just judge them as sick, twisted, evil people and just go about your day. But I have to remind myself, there was a time when I probably would have succumbed to the pressure of signing one of those contracts. From the time that I was about 15 until the age of 30, I was convinced that I was going to somehow make it in the music industry. I know that makes me sound delusional, but it wasn't because I thought I had overwhelming talent. I just felt like I know I can write a good song, and I'm willing to put in the time and pay the dues that are necessary to be paid to get myself out in front of the public. If I'm being honest, I wanted to make music, and I wanted people to idolize me over it. I had a very twisted perspective on things, and I had a lot of growing up to do. But I say that to make the point, I could have easily fallen into this trap myself. It's not that common knowledge that you have to sign your soul away in order to get into the music industry. I would say a lot of people think that, but not that many people know that it is actually the truth. All it would have taken was the right person to influence me to sign on the dotted line. I thank God I never had the opportunity presented to me. If I had, I could have easily been one of these people in this clip right here talking about how miserable I was and all the regret that I have. It took a lot of growing up to realize it, but man, I dodged a bullet.
Let's look at the deplorable rituals that they perform in the industry, and it all goes back to Mystery Babylon and ancient Egypt, i.e. the fallen angels. Michael Jackson's Remember the Time was a love story, but he wasn't singing to Amon. He was singing to Eddie. I'm going to show you in just a minute. He was acting out a three-part deity. Ta, also pronounced Ptah, but the P is usually silent. Sokar Osiris. Sokar is a falcon-headed god with a horn crown. Right before they show you Eddie, they show you the falcon. The falcon is also used to represent Horus, which is why Eddie has the eye of Horus on his collar, which I'm getting to in just a second. Osiris is the god of the afterlife, so that's why Mike appears here dressed as the Grim Reaper. He then turns himself into an image of gold. He's now become the god Ta, or Ptah. He was the god of craftsmen and sculptors and was often pictured in gold. He's the inspiration for the Oscar, which also sounds a lot like Sokar, Oscar. In this next clip, you can hear him pronouncing his name both ways, Ptah and Ta. The video starts with cats. There's cats throughout the video because the cat represents the love interest. Sekhmet was the consort or wife of Ta. She was a cat-headed deity. Notice how that cat is directly in front of Eddie. He pointed directly at Eddie. Watch his hand movements. Not you, you Eddie. And did you notice how he made eye contact with him? Look at the X and O on the apron for hugs and kisses. Mike runs off and then he turns into Osiris. Pay attention to the crossed arms, the beard, and the hat. Arms, beard, hat. He's getting ready to show you what happened between Set and Horus. Set was the brother to Osiris. He defiled Osiris's son Horus, his nephew, in an unspeakable way. Aleister Crowley would say the eye of Horus is better than the mouth of Isis, Isis being female. And as you can see here, he's also represented by a falcon. And remember, Eddie had the eye of Horus and the falcon. That's what they're showing you here, the eye of Horus, Mike in the middle being the pupil. But before the women assemble around him, watch how he touches the child on the head right here and points up to the sky. How crazy is it that they call school-aged children pupil? Let me explain what that means.
This is the eye of Lucifer. But believe it or not, it corresponds to a human organ that, for lack of a more delicate term, we'll call the rectum, which is kind of ironic when you think about it. This represents Lucifer. And what this refers to is that the occult archaeometric doctrine of Masonry is that by accessing alternate universes through sodomy, especially of young, you can access alternate dimensions of reality through what are called the tunnels of Typhon. There is a belief that through this sexual perversion, they can access these tunnels into alternate universes, alternate realities. And the goal of this kind of magic is to find your own universe and become the god over that universe. This buys into the modern day physics theory that there's many, many dimensions of reality. Maybe you've read about that. Alternate universes. It shows up in science fiction a lot. And then once you're the god of this universe, you can start sucking the energy out of it. And you can use that energy through this child to live forever and ever and ever. And
here's Aleister Crowley dressed as Osiris. That pose is called Osiris Risen. You've seen a lot of celebrities making that pose, the Black Panther being one of them. Mike, like most of Hollywood, was a follower of Crowley, though he advertised it in subtle ways. Look at the 777 on his arm. He did that to give nod to one of Crowley's most popular books, 777 and Other Kabbalistic Writings. This quote inspired one of Mike's greatest albums. Notice that last paragraph says, more dangerous. This is the album cover for Dangerous. That's Crowley over to the right at the bottom, and that's Mike's hand holding a small child.
Man, this symbolism stuff goes deep. I've thought for a long time that Michael Jackson was likely just framed in regards to all of the accusations about mistreatment of children. But now, I'm starting to have second thoughts. It looks like he may have had a very different reason for wanting to be around young kids all the time. And what's crazy to me is these people clearly believe in this nonsense that you can use the blood of someone innocent to prolong your life and potentially live forever. But there's been not one documented case in all of history of anybody pulling this off. Yet they all believe in it enough that they're willing to do these sick, twisted occult rituals and practices and stuff, all in an attempt to achieve this. The only logical thing that I can think here is that each one of these individuals all think they're going to be the first person ever in history to pull off this trick to gain immortality. That is next level narcissism. I think Hollywood and the music industry would go a long way in self-correcting if they all just gained some common sense. I'm betting most people wouldn't have bought into this idea if it was drilled in our heads during elementary school.
A Russian scientist thinks he might have found the elixir of life.
It has a mechanism to prolong life, and taking into account the amount, the periods of time, forever. It has a mechanism to live forever.
In 2009, Dr. Anatoly Bruzhkov discovered a strain of bacteria in the Siberian permafrost. The bacteria, which was named Bacillus F, was 3.5 million years old and still alive in the permafrost. And he did what any sensible person would do. He injected it straight into his veins. Dr. Bruzhkov finished sequencing the Bacillus F gene code in 2015. By then, he had made another interesting discovery. That not only did the bacteria seem to be immune to aging, but they had a life-extending effect on every organism that it touched. When injected with it, female mice would continue to reproduce well into their old age. Crops exposed to it were more fast-growing and frost-resistant. The people of this town are even known to live longer, and they think it's because the Bacillus F is leaking into their water supply. To test the longevity effect firsthand, Dr. Bruzhkov then decided to inject himself with this ancient bacterium. It worked so well on Bruzhkov that his colleagues started calling it the Elixir of Life. 2 years after the injection, he reported needing far less sleep and feeling way more fulfilled on the shorter amount of sleep. He would work way longer hours without feeling cognitive decline or any tiredness whatsoever.
And to tell the truth, after I took it, I never had a flu for 2 years, at least for 2 years, so any cold, any type of the cold.
Whether it is an elixir of life or a strong placebo, Bacillus F is actually one of many strains of miracle bacteria found in the frozen tundra of Siberia. Another ancient Siberian species can apparently convert petroleum molecules into water, proving a potential solution for cleaning up oil spills.
First of all, there's nothing on this planet that's over 1 million years old, so there's no way that bacteria was sitting there for 3.5 million years. They tell us the million years stuff because they need that window of time for evolution to make sense, but it still doesn't. And how did they come to that conclusion? Carbon dating? And I looked this up to try to verify some of the information in the video, and the life expectancy for the population in Yakutsk, Russia is 69 years old. The life expectancy in the United States is 77. That kind of makes me question all the other claims in the video. Besides that, there's been pretty much no updates on this story since the guy first injected himself. I did find, though, that he started apparently giving injections of this stuff to this French actress named Manouche back in 2017. Here's a photo of her with the syringe that she's about to inject herself with and a vial of this bacteria back in 2017. The newest photo I could find of her was on her Facebook page. This was taken in 2022, and literally every photo she's posted after this has so many of those Instagram filters on it you can't see if she's aging or not. But looking at this, it doesn't look like it's working to me. I think if there was anything to this, we would have heard much more about it by now. But there's been little to no updates about this since the story first came out in 2015. I'm thinking this was a publicity stunt to help this Russian scientist gain some notoriety in the scientific community. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I'm sorry it's a little bit shorter today. I had a couple more clips that I had to remove due to copyright issues. I now know I can't put anything by Candace Owens in here and talk about it, but I hope y'all enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back soon with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at berry-stepp.com. And don't forget to drop a photo of your merch over in the Discord to get your photo in a video. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.